Rob Cavestany from Death Angel, welcome to Australian Musician.
Why, thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So tell me, man, what attracted you to the heavier side of music when you were younger?
Oh man, that goes back a ways, so I gotta have to think what the original spark was. But I can imagine it must have been the energy, to be honest. Like the energy and the musicianship kind of put into one, I'd have to say.
Yeah. Obviously, as you got into bands and started doing supports and then headlining yourselves, you would have met some of your own guitar heroes. Who was the first guitar hero that you actually got to meet?
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably Kirk Hammett. Probably Kirk Hammett. We were fortunate to meet the Metallica guys at a very young age. And Kirk actually produced our Kill as One demo, the demo tape that got us signed in the first place.
Yeah.
So not only did we get to meet him, we got to get to know him and actually do a recording session with him. It was amazing.
Yeah, because I know your dad had a lot of Bay Area bands in his record collection. Were you into guys like Neil Schon?
Oh my God, yes. Neil's one of my guitar gods for sure. Never did get to properly meet him. We played the Grass Pop Festival in Belgium with Journey some years ago, and when we came off of a signing session, they came off stage, and we kind of intersected and ran into each other. So people introduced us to each other like right quick for a couple seconds. So that was like the moment of actually meeting him in person. But it happened really fast. Was really unable to soak in the moment. But yes, of course, Neil Schon.
Yeah. So you, I think, acquired your first Jackson guitar back in 1995. What led you to choose Jackson in the first place?
Well, first of all, we're going to go back a decade because that would be more like 85
Okay.
when I got my first Jackson in 85. Um, Extremely excited, of course. And I was fortunate enough to have my first Jackson be a custom Jackson. So I got a custom star body that I ordered from a local Guitar Center store in San Francisco. Um, and that guitar I played religiously and treasured all the way until I got another Jackson. But I got Jackson because definitely my absolute ultimate guitar hero, Randy Rhoads, played Jackson guitars. That's directly the reason why I needed to have a Jackson.
Yeah. And of course, you've now got the new model, the Pro Series Signature Rob Cavestany, which was previously only available as a custom shop order guitar. How does it feel to know that there are players out there that will be inspired to buy your signature guitar and launch their own music careers? How does that make you feel?
It's overwhelming, to be honest. If I really sit there and soak it in, it's absolutely a dream come true. You know, of course, from the day I put my hands on that very first Jackson in 85, I dreamt of, one day having my own, but it just seemed like, a completely far-fetched fantasy. Um, so after all these years, after all these decades playing Jackson, pretty much, you know, exclusively my entire career in Death Angel, at least for sure. It's just mind blowing to me. I'm so proud of this moment, as well as just, it's just hard to believe, honestly, for now. Until I start seeing them around and seeing people actually playing them, it still doesn't even seem real.
Yeah. So when Jackson comes to you and they say we want to release a guitar in your name, what's the most important element that they have to get right for you to put your name on it and be happy?
For me, it was, of course, knowing that there's going to be a difference between a completely custom made guitar and a production model guitar. I was worried that it would be so very different feel wise. So my most important thing was that when you played the production model, the Pro Series guitar, when I would have it in my hands and be playing it, I would literally not be able to tell the difference and feel the difference between my customs and the Pro Series. Like, I mean, if you like focus really hard, of course, you start trying to think about it. But if, to me, it was, if I played songs and just jammed on it and it felt like one of my guitars, then that was going to be it. And lo and behold, you know, I got my sample and I started playing it. And after a few minutes of just trying to not pay attention, I could swear I was playing one of my original customs.
Yeah. How important is that deep C cut in a lower horn in your playing?
Oh, it's imperative. That's one of the main reasons for that part of the design of the guitar is the access to the top frets and just the how comfortable it feels when you play up high right there. And in that deep C cut, it's just there's nothing in your way, and it's for me at least, it's a perfect feel down there.
Yeah. And how much have you tried many different pickup configurations over the years before deciding on EMGs?
I did back in the day. I had a phase of experimenting with a lot of different pickups, and you know, honestly, I could achieve killer tone with a variety of pickups, but one of the main problems was that because we play at such a high volume and with a lot of gain, so I'd get noise problems and feedback issues. And finally, when I tried the EMG pickups out, I realized that I could still get the crushing tone, but it was so much cleaner and quieter. So that was kind of the main reason why I went to the EMGs. And then originally I was using the 81-85 combination, the kind of standard combo, but then I just kind of was looking for something a little different in the neck pickup. So that's when I tried the HA, and yeah, I liked the, you know, subtle difference really, but I like the sound of the HA. So there you go. Now I'm using the HA in the neck. They're working out great for me.
Yeah. Did you go through much experimentation before you arrived at a rig that you were happy with, that gave you the perfect tone?
Yes and no. I go through phases. Like, so at some certain point in time, I get into a exploration of tone and just try to look for something kind of different, not necessarily better per se, because just, you know, I'm not really that particular about, to me, I can get killer tone with a variety of different equipment or different models of amps or different things. It's not like I must use that one exact combination or that's it for me. So I'm pretty open to fishing around for killer tone. But yeah, you know, in general, I came upon what I use now, and lately I've just been completely satisfied with it. So I'm not really in a searching for different tone mode right now. I'm just more focusing on playing, playing and composing for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, just like anybody who plays guitar or plays music, you have fun experimenting and fishing around for different sounds.
Yeah. I saw a gear video about, I think 5 years ago, that and you had about 4 Jackson guitars on the road with you. How many guitars do you take out these days, and what kind of tunings do you have in them?
Typically 4 guitars is sufficient for touring. And that's what I've been bringing out lately, unless we have to do like just a fly-in gig. We might be able to get away with 2 guitars, but definitely 2 guitar minimum, because we use 2 different tunings in our set these days. We have basically some of the songs are in a E flat, and some of the other songs are in a drop C sharp. So it's an E flat with the low string dropped. And since my guitars are locked in with Floyd Rose bridges, I can't really switch back and forth between the 2 tunings very quickly and very easily. So I've got to at least have the 2 guitars, preferably 4, in case something goes wrong. You've got a backup for each guitar.
Yeah, I imagine you've got a loyal and a very handy guitar tech.
Absolutely. That's you know, never gonna take to the battlefield without my right hand man. So yeah, it's definitely imperative to to have a good team there with your tech, making sure everything's going just right.
Yeah. Are you still taking the Mark Morton signature out on tour to play in the hotel?
I do. I do. I had my recently acquired Silver Burst Dominion out with me on this last tour we just wrapped up here in the US, and it's absolutely my go-to back of the bus backstage guitar. It's just everything about it makes it very convenient, and I love the feel of it. So works out great, and it's Jackson, so
Yeah. So where are you at with the band's 10th album? I know you had a rocky start with Will Carroll getting COVID very badly. And I think you started sending him some tapes after he started to recover. What kind of frame of mind were you in during the COVID period, and how much influence did that have on the album?
I was in a frame of mind probably like most people, which is like, what the hell? What the hell's happening to this world?
Yeah.
And it got to a point, of course, where it was going on so long and so intense that you're very worried how long, if at all, if the world was going to get back to a position where live entertainment and mass gatherings would actually occur. It was looking pretty grim. And yes, of course, with Will going through that, it was a crazy time. There was a lot of, trying to do the best to be hopeful and positive. But definitely, honestly, it was a challenging period of time. There's a lot of negativity going on in the world, not only with the pandemic, but during that time, like, other things in the world were going crazy, especially here in the United States. Like, there was a lot of mayhem, politically, and people just unhappy, and a lot of strife, and it was a real crazy time. And so during that time, we did actually record and put out an acoustic EP that was just sort of spontaneous release of expression and music, and just how we were vibing during that time. Of course, we weren't getting together as a full band. Our drummer was not in any condition to play, and so we were just like kind of in this weird warp, and that's kind of what came out of it, that acoustic EP. And then since then, definitely that's the energy and the feeling of the emotion of all that still lingers, and kind of is trickling over into things that are being written right now. But it's a weird space, because in one way it's a deep well to pull from that emotion to write and express from that. But it's also in a weird way, because I don't really feel like going there, like, in your mind and in your soul. It feels good to kind of transcend beyond that now, and look toward the future and where things are progressed to now. So it's definitely in there, and especially some of the songs that were already written right as the pandemic was kind of ending, and we were getting ready to go back out on tour. We were already demoing and writing some songs from that time period. So I imagine more of that feeling and that flavor might be in that early batch of songs that was already written. We'll see how it goes with the stuff that we write now. It'll all swirl in and be expressed in our next album for sure.
Yeah. Have you got a deadline in mind? A certain period you hope to have it out?
We are hoping to have it out by I'd say early second quarter of 24. Okay. Seems weird to look at time that far out, but that's just kind of the reality of it, because we're going to get into some deep writing and demoing right now. But of course, we've got plans to get back out on the road next year, because we're still making up for lost time from the pandemic. And it's kind of hard to just shut down for too long from going out and working on the road. So we may have to take some breaks within the writing to do some touring, go back and forth. But all that being said, if everything goes as planned, we should be able to be in the recording studio by by this time next year, we hopefully have the album recorded.
Yeah. What do you know about recording now that you didn't know the first time you went into a studio?
Everything. the first time we went to the studio, we basically knew nothing, as mostly people would do the first time they're in the studio. So now it's just, knowing, everything, literally from the proper pre-production in the first place before you even get into the studio to record the actual record itself. Throughout just literally the entire process. I mean, the entire production of it, the engineering side of it, the arranging, the multi-tracking, the digital post-production. I mean, it's a world of difference from when we first started recording. Not only that, but the entire scope of the world and recording has changed since then. So not only have we evolved and grown and learned and experienced for all these decades since we first recorded in the 80s, but the entire method of recording is also completely different. Of course, we recorded our first record, The Ultraviolence, was recorded in 3 days from start to finish on analog tape, basically recording live, and we pulled it off somehow. And you could hear all the raw energy in that album, and it's incredible, and it's also something that we could never do again in that way. So it's just a whole universe of difference.
Yeah. What do you remember about your first trip to Australia? Was that with Sepultura?
No, that was the last time we were in Australia, I think, was with Sepultura. The time before that, we were out there with Creator. And before that, we were out there with Armored Saint.
Okay.
That was actually first time must have been 2008 or so, 2008, 2009, somewhere there. That was the first time. But every time we've been out there has been incredible and special. Obviously more rare for us to be out there, and it's really been too long since we've been out there. I really wish that by now, by this interview, I would be able to tell you that we have some dates to announce out there, but no, we don't as of yet. But yeah, it's incredible playing out there. I love it in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah. I was interested looking at your Instagram page. When Olivia Newton-John died, you posted a photo of her, a bit of a tribute, which I suppose I wouldn't have expected. But what were your memories of Olivia?
Oh man, I have a lot of memories of Olivia, because in the first place, in my early days of listening to music, long before I knew how to play music and I just, listened to my parents' music, my mom loves Olivia Newton-John. So because of that, her music was being played a lot in my house. So it's part of my memories of growing up. It's part of the soundtrack of being a little kid, and the fond memories that holds, being around my family and just listening to my parents' music and stuff. So, there's that in the first place. So that immediately gives me a nostalgic feeling for her and her voice and her songs. Then later on, of course, Grease, for being from the 80s, you had to have seen Grease like no less than 6 or 10 times. And of course, that you can't deny that movie. So, classic movie, which I've seen endlessly, and those memories and those songs and her character, Sandy, in the movie is just another beautiful memory of days gone by. And so it's just real fond. It's just, there's no way to detach the fond memories and soundtrack of her to my life. So yeah, of course, when she passed and seeing all the other tributes and stuff, it hit home, and it bummed me out, and it bummed me out for my mom, because I knew she was really bummed too. And so therefore I had to post that tribute.
Yeah. You spoke about going out on the road again. Tell me about how you frame your set lists. At what point of the tour or the week or the day do you do it? And what's the goal?
Love creating the set list. It's always a fun challenge, and the more records we put out, the harder it is to make a set list, because unless you're playing, for 3 hours, you just don't have enough time to do everything. And so you got to kind of strategically do the set list for sure, as well as the running order, where we're playing, if we played there, the last time we played there, what set did we play then? And I typically keep all the set lists on file there, so I can refer back and make sure we have a different set list and play different songs as much as possible. So taking all these factors in mind, also like who we're playing with that night makes a difference. And I just try to make the set list as much as possible to where I think that particular crowd is going to enjoy that particular set. Of course, you can't please everyone. Someone's always going to come up after the show and, why didn't you play this song, and why didn't you play that? But that's okay. I take that as a compliment, because that means they like other songs rather than just the obvious standard songs that we play. But there's kind of like some kind of songs that we have to, they're must do songs in our set. And then hopefully there's room for fudging around other songs that fit that particular night or tour. So setlist is usually created before the tour, because we're rehearsing that set. Sometimes we have like an A and B set, so we rehearse 2 different sets that we can pick between the 2. And then as the tour transpires, sometimes the set will evolve a little bit after we play a few shows and feel out how it's working out live and on that particular crowd on those tours. We may swap out a song here and there. And then sometimes we have a longer set certain nights. Sometimes on a tour, we're part of a support set where we're playing a shorter set, but then other nights we'll do a headlining set. We play double as long. So we have to prepare for all the other songs. And those are usually all rehearsed before the tour gets going. And then we have a batch of songs that we can interchange and play with.
Yeah. So what are you most proud of in your music career?
I'm gonna have to say the reason we're speaking right now is definitely one of them. Like, this is really huge. This definitely challenges my other normal answer for this question, which would be I'd have to say the release of our debut album. The moment I held in my hand the actual vinyl of our first record that was put out is hard to beat, because that's just like, that's the ultimate dream right there. And especially back in that year, 86, 87, to make a record, an actual record, you couldn't just use your home studio equipment and do it. Like, if you put out a record, that meant, you were signed, you did a proper recording in a proper studio with a real producer and all the real stuff that puts you in the league of bands that have true released albums on a record label. So everything about that is hard to top. Since then, I'm gonna have to say that really this guitar coming out is just about equal to that, but right in there. It's big for me.
Yeah. Well, Rob, it's been great to catch up, and we look forward to seeing you down here in Australia one day soon.
Thanks for having me, Greg. It's great talking to you. Appreciate that. Thanks everyone for listening, checking this out.